Weirdest ancient Roman weapons. 10. The philerica, a javelin. Completely normal javelin. Except Romans wrapped the front third in wool soaked in burning pitch and set it on fire before throwing it. The genius was simple. It hit your shield, and your shield became the problem. Drop it, and you are exposed. Keep it, and you are holding fire. There was no good answer. Roman formations would launch hundreds of these, simultaneously turning the sky into a wall of falling fire. It was a regular spear. They just set it on fire, and suddenly nobody knew what to do about it. 9. The plumbata. The plumbata was a dart. A small weighted lead dart that Roman soldiers kept tucked inside their shields, 5 at a time, for the opening moments of battle before swords came out. Each soldier carried 5 of them. A Roman legion of 5,000 men could launch 25,000 darts simultaneously before the enemy even reached their line. The lead weight made them penetrate shields and armor at ranges that normal throwing weapons couldn't reach. Enemy formations would suddenly be taking casualties from darts they couldn't see coming from men who hadn't even drawn their swords yet. 8. The Scorpio. The Scorpio was a small portable crossbow mounted on a stand that fired metal bolts with enough force to go through shields, through armor, and through the person wearing the armor. What made it unusual was the size. It was light enough for 2 soldiers to carry and set up anywhere on a battlefield in minutes. Romans would position dozens of them on elevated ground and use them as precision killing machines before infantry engaged. Julius Caesar described enemy soldiers pinned through their shields to wooden fortifications by Scorpio bolts and still standing upright because the bolt went through everything and embedded in the wall behind them. 7. Roman caltrops. 4 metal spikes welded together so that no matter which way they land, one spike always points upward. Romans scattered thousands of them across ground they were retreating through or defending. Horses stepping on them collapsed immediately. Soldiers in sandals were finished. Even armored soldiers in boots had to stop and carefully pick their way through them, which completely destroyed any charge momentum. Simple, cheap, required 0 skill to use. Romans manufactured them in massive quantities, and they were so effective that militaries kept using them completely unchanged for the next 2,000 years. 6. The corvus. Rome kept losing naval battles because Carthaginian sailors were simply better at sea. Rome's solution was to stop having naval battles entirely and turn every sea engagement into a land battle instead. The corvus was a massive spiked boarding bridge on a rotating pole mounted on Roman ships. When an enemy ship came close, they dropped it directly onto the enemy deck. The spike locked both ships together. Roman soldiers then charged across and fought on the surface of the ocean like it was a field. Rome went from embarrassing naval losses to complete naval dominance almost immediately. They essentially refused to learn sailing and invented a workaround instead. 5. Roman bee bombs. Romans took ceramic pots, filled them with live beehives, and threw them by catapult into enemy fortifications. The pot shattered on impact. Thousands of extremely angry bees were suddenly released inside an enclosed space full of soldiers in heavy armor with nowhere to run and no way to defend themselves. Historical accounts describe sieges being abandoned specifically because of bee bombardments. Rome looked at a beehive and saw a weapon, then they made it a standard siege tactic. Then they did it repeatedly across multiple campaigns, and it kept working. 4. The dolabra. The dolabra was an axe on one side and a pickaxe on the other side that every Roman soldier carried as standard equipment. It was not primarily a weapon, it was a construction tool. Romans used it to build fortified camps every single night on campaign. But in close combat, a soldier who lost his sword suddenly had an axe in his hand that could go through shields, helmets, and armor far more effectively than a standard blade. Enemies who broke through Roman lines, expecting to fight soldiers with swords, occasionally discovered that every Roman was also carrying an axe and knew how to use it. 3. Roman fire ships. When Romans needed to destroy an enemy fleet anchored in harbor, they would take old ships, fill them completely with dry wood, pitch, oil, and anything flammable, set them on fire, and sail them directly into the enemy fleet with a skeleton crew who jumped off at the last moment. The burning ship would drift into the anchored fleet and spread fire from ship to ship with nothing the enemy could do except watch their entire navy burn from the shore. It required no technology, no engineering, just an old ship, fire, and complete willingness to sacrifice the vessel entirely. Rome used this tactic multiple times across different campaigns, and it worked every single time. 2. The pilum. The pilum looked like a normal javelin, but Romans engineered it specifically to become useless after one use on purpose. The metal shaft was deliberately made soft so that when it hit a shield, it bent immediately. Now the enemy soldier had a bent javelin stuck through his shield that was too heavy to keep holding and impossible to pull out or throw back. He had to drop the shield entirely and fight without it. Every Roman soldier carried 2 of them. An entire legion throwing pylons simultaneously meant thousands of enemy soldiers suddenly fighting without shields in the opening seconds of battle. It was not an accident. Romans designed the bending in deliberately. 1. Roman tortoise formation. With siege hooks, the testudo formation was already terrifying. Soldiers locked shields together above and around them, creating a completely sealed moving shell that arrows and projectiles simply bounced off. Entire units moved across open ground under constant fire and arrived completely unharmed. Romans then attached large iron hooks on long poles to the front of testudo formations during sieges. The shell of shields protected the soldiers while they walked directly up to enemy walls under full bombardment, jammed the hooks into the wall joints, and pulled entire sections of fortification apart from the outside while being completely protected. They built a human tank, gave it a demolition tool, and walked it directly into enemy walls, while soldiers on top threw everything they had at it and achieved essentially nothing. Rome did not have the most exotic weapons in the ancient world. They just took simple ideas and executed them with such systematic efficiency that the enemy ran out of answers. That was always the real weapon.